Hello, everyone. Okay, so now we're going to our panel session or our panel discussion, and we'll also have like a little Q&A after. So I'll just ask you guys a couple of questions, and of course, your well of wisdom will open up to us. Okay, the first question is, I think for Boluji, what was your aha moment? Like, what led you to create Coffee and Co?
I don't think it's that interesting. So, what led me to start Coffee and Co? There's a saying that when you listen to a lot of founders, they always say this thing of find a problem and then solve it. And I just feel like, but there are plenty of problems in this world. How do you know which one is your own problem to solve? So, but funny enough, that's what I'm going to say. So I used to work as a staff at Landmark. And I guess part of work culture from where I was from, it became tea and coffee. So especially if you've had a long night, in the morning, the coffee will get you through the day. So I found out, okay, I'll get to work, and I'm looking for coffee. And I didn't like the Nescafe, and I was just looking for something else. So I used to have to drive to like Krispy Kreme and all these other places trying to find coffee. And within the Landmark ecosystem, I'd been somewhere, and they'd served me coffee, but like horribly. So it was not like, I saw a space open up. And there was like a vision in my head of this would just make a perfect coffee shop. Like someone can just come in, and that was my own aha moment. So that was like, it's not that interesting, but find a problem that you have, and you can try and solve it.
Okay, thank you. Ike, what about you?
My aha moment started in Ahava. Sorry. I don't think there was a moment. I think it was a process. But I don't even know what aha moment you're asking about now because the farm. Oh, okay. Oh yeah, I already talked about it. It was a series of things about like 4 different this thing. I think I was building a gift card project early last year. I'm laughing because she was my first client for that project. And I remember at some point I was just looking at this project like, okay, like, so if somebody asks you what you are doing in your life in Nigeria today, with everything that is happening, is gift card that you are working on. That was the first thing that happened. And I think that the next thing that happened was, at the time, I was, so my business, Alvative, my business has a relationship with MTM Momo. We kind of consult for them for technical support. I have some friends there. So one of them called me and said, hey, IK, we need help with, we need to increase transactions. Do you have contacts for betting companies? And I said, oh yeah, let me ask around. And I remember after that, I remember feeling very sad after that call because I've been excited about MTN coming into the payment space for like 20 years now. Because I don't know if you remember, like almost 20 years ago, they used to, but the first set of MTN mobile money came out, but they didn't really do anything about it. So as a tech person and as a payment enthusiast, I've been looking forward to that for 20 years. And my motivation was, these people will use their reach to bring digital payment services into like villages. I'm a village boy, forget this Lagos thing, into like the places that are closest to me. And here they are asking me for betting companies. It was really hurtful to see. I thought, it just pained me. There was a way it pained me. I'm like, so this is this. So when I say I was disillusioned with tech, these were some of the things that were causing it. The third thing that happened was, okay, let me be very honest with you. The third thing was happening was that I have a friend that was asking me to build an app for a poultry company, the people that sell day-old chicks. I just kept saying, how much really is inside poultry? He got someone else to build it. 2 weeks later, they had done like 135 million. And I was still begging this madam to let me sell gift card. to say 10,000 naira, nah.
Wow.
I think that the final thing was there was a video, there was a Access Bank Economic Summit that they held. They had Bismarck Rewane, they had the Minister of Finance, they had the guy, the head of tax. Dangote was around, and it was like a 4-hour session, and they were talking about like the economic projection. And I remember just listening to them talking, and they were talking about all these things around oil and gas, about increasing like tax revenue, about diaspora remittance. And God just told me, see, they're not planning for the people. They are looking for money to fund budget. Do you understand? They are looking to grow tax revenue to fund budget. And we know what happens with the budget. Do you understand? But they're not planning for they're not. And last year was a very interesting year for me because God really just like opened it up for me. Like the logic was they are looking for what they can control. You can't sell oil without government. You must remit. So they are focusing on areas you can't do remittance without government. You can't, and then taxes remitted to the government. So, but all the other areas like agriculture, like all the areas that if you really invest in it, you would do a lot of good for a lot of people. They were not focusing on it. So God was saying, look at all the gaps. So this was how it all came together for me to just leave tech and start focusing. And then like what I said earlier about seeing that the goodness of God is really mostly agricultural. Yeah.
Wow. Thank you. Thank you, Boluji. Thank you. Did you want to say something? No. Okay. This question is for Mr. Nnamdi and then I came. How do you integrate like kingdom principles into your work or in your industry?
I think I'll probably start with the first production that I ended up doing in Lagos. Because back in Port Harcourt then, because I was already working as the creative director for House on the Rock, Port Harcourt. So everything we're doing basically church, after service, church, but stepping outside of the four walls of a church and doing something and still tagging it church. And the funny part is that I am wired different. And I'm one person that, because of that, I'm not going to change once I get clarity on scriptures. This is what you're meant to do. Because there's a whole lot of things that the body of Christ is afraid of doing because they feel that it's not right. And it's not about being right. It's if it's God, then do it. So coming into Lagos, I had an opportunity of meeting the girlfriend of one of the founders of Vimeo. They were visiting Lagos, I think sometime around 2011. So we were talking and they were like, oh, what are you planning to do? I'm trying to do my show, and it was about love. And the funny part was that when I came to Lagos for 9 years, God was silent. In Port Harcourt, I was doing literally everything. Oh, minister here, minister there, I'll do it. But as I left, which he said, it's time for you to move to Lagos. I came into Lagos. God was silent. There was nothing I didn't do. There was no crusade I didn't go to. There was no fellowship I didn't go to. There was no evangelic work I didn't join to go and see. But at the end of each of them, I was sad. I didn't understand why I was sad. But when I got back and I said, God, why am I sad even when I'm doing your work? He said, because I told you, I gave you an instruction that you need to train for what I'm preparing. So that is why if I allow you to start having fun in what you're doing, you will stop what you're meant to do. So when he finally said start, so I decided to put up I didn't even decide to put up a story. He told me that I should tell a story about love. And I'm not the best person to tell a story about love. I'm not a preacher of love. So that was another battle because like, God, I am still trying to even understand. I grew up in a dysfunctional family. My mom died when I was around 4 years old. My dad married another wife, and then another one, which made my life like a Nigerian movie. Like when we sit in the family house and we watch Nigerian films back then as a little boy, I was actually watching myself. And I was almost like, the way you feel when you're watching Superman, hello, that's Clockhead, that's Superman. Don't you guys see that this is the same guy? Like, can't you guys see what that little boy is going through? Is what I'm going through. So I was struggling. I have a problem loving. So why are you telling me to tell a story about love? But I found out that he basically was trying to get me to know his love. And that's the best way for him to tell me, because knowing the kind of person I am, if I'm doing something, I go to research it. I search everything about it. So what I'm telling you is authentic about it. So while working on that production, they were like, okay, what are you doing? I told them about it. They were like, well, that's nice. Sounds like, how do you plan to do it? I shared, I would love to integrate multimedia into the storytelling. I would love to integrate film into the storytelling. I would love to integrate art, because these are the things that I am exposed to. But I'm still trying to understand how to do it, because there is no reference point, which was another frustration for me. There is no reference point for me in this our amazing city to say, okay, this guy did it, so let me look at what he did and do. There was nothing like that. Even our partners then, Eco Hotel, they were, from what I even heard from the producer, they were at the verge of canceling the show, because they said nobody has done what this guy is saying, so we don't even see how possible, because if somebody has done it, we can say, okay, yeah, it's possible. So they were at that point. So they told me, okay, do you know what, have you seen Vimeo? Because we're all used to YouTube. We're like, no. Say, Vimeo is a cleaner version of YouTube. Just go to Vimeo and check what is there. And they sent me a link. By the time I spent a night just going through what was there, I saw literally creatives that are like, their arts are just insane. I was like, oh my God. So it sort of put my mind in a place. I was able to pull the stories, break the stories that is in script form from, okay, actors, you're acting, from your acting, you're going to move onto the screen. So we've filmed someone's screen. So as you're coming out from the screen, is a continuation. Some of the going back is animated. Coming out of the screen is the real thing. So we mixed that with music and everything. And it was all telling the story about love. 1 Corinthians 13, because he told me that the whole earth asks the question from Genesis, what is love? I was able to come to 1 Corinthians 13 to tell them, love is patient, love is kind. So take that and make it into the story. And one of my biggest worry was that how would they react to it? Because the audience were a mixture of expatriates and Nigerians. How would they react to it? Because I went all out. Yeah, I didn't hold back in saying this is a Christian show. Some of the scenes were driven with Bible verses. And the last part of the show itself, which was for me like the highlight of it, had the whole cast coming out, instead of taking a bow, sat down on stage facing the multimedia screen, and the screen lights up with this film by this singer, Mandy Moore. It's an old film that she got a guy that was chasing after her saved. I've forgotten the name of the film. Only Hope is a song. Is a song. But the film showed the wedding when they were reading out Love is Patient, Love is Kind and everything. And that was how the show ended. And to my amazement, by the time we turned back, the whole hall was standing and clapping. So that sort of gave me a boost in everything that I'm doing when it comes to, if I'm doing a client's work, it's a client's work. You can't start telling the client, we need to preach the gospel. Nobody will call you the next day. But when I know that I'm telling my own story that we are putting together, it's the only thing that can come to my head, because God has literally arrested everything I do from a creative perspective. My paintings are scripture paintings from the weirdest way, which is another thing that I haven't yet seen somebody that is doing it. The first time my friends saw me do it, they told me that they would pray for me. Because the instruction is take my Bible passages and add on the canvas. That is what I want you to paint. I'm hoping which I've been hoping for the past few years to get to do the solo exhibition. I have some that I've been hiding so far in the studio that I hope to get to finish and do the exhibition this year because it's my heart cry out. I can't paint anything outside that and feel contempt, like because of the way he has arrested it. So even with that, the last one from my friend was that if you're tearing the Bible, tear it slowly in case it's your skin or your ear that is tearing. And if you tear it fast, maybe before you can stop it, the ear is gone. But that was how. So the boldness to shed the light. And the most interesting part is the closer you are to God in your walk with Him, the more you are intimate with Him, He paints across everything you do. There was a picture he showed me, the Holy Spirit showed me like 5 years ago, that Christ, if I picture Christ as somebody that was dipped inside a paint that never runs dry, that I should know that the more I get close to Christ, the more that paint will rub off on me. And the more I spend time with it, the paint will come all over me. So if I go to another person, it will smear just like that. And so literally, the stuff that you do is an extension of who you are. I've taken some of my paintings to some banks, and they told me categorically, I cannot take it. I don't have any scripture on it. And the lady called me aside and told me, do you know what? I feel that there is a spirit on this thing that I don't feel is comfortable to be inside a bank. I was like, what spirit? So he kept asking, are you a Christian? I said, yes. Okay. No wonder there is something about it. So I left there happy that I have a relationship that nobody knows about, except if I tell you, but it's on my walk. Because just like Christ said, a body you prepared for me. Every spirit, which I believe strongly that the world is, everything is spiritual. The world is more spirit than physical. What we do, there's a spirit upon it. So I'm very, very mindful of that. So in everything that I do, that boldness, God has given me somehow that boldness. So painting, if you don't like it, bye-bye. Art stuff, if you don't like it, don't buy the ticket. So God has given me that grace. So I don't hold back. Because if I hold back, I won't sleep in the night. I won't sleep. I know what will happen to me.
Wow. Okay. Thank you so much. Please, I think we should clap to that. Okay. One of my last questions for Boluji. How did you overcome the initial challenges, that's if you had any, of starting your own business?
Keep going.
That was very short, but
So it's keep going and have a community around you that kind of continues to push you. Because there's been plenty of times where I'm like, I don't know if this is worth it anymore. It's a bit too much stress. But is to have that community around you that are feeding back into you saying, okay, you started something good, keep going. Where there are issues, they step in to also help you with that. So that's kind of how I faced challenges. There's also God, the God factor of when there are challenges to also say, Growing up, I grew up in a church where you don't question God. Lucky enough, I've come to tribe where I've also realized that it's a relationship. And there are good times and there are bad times. And in a relationship, you have to also be open with the other person. So there are times where you go back to God and are like, now you send me here. So we have to exactly. So, and that's why I hold on to, in business, in my personal life, in certain things, of you go back to God and like, I'm facing an issue. You are the one that said I should come here, so how are we going to solve it? Or what are we going to do about it? So that's pretty much how I face challenges. And sometimes you cry.
very important.
There's that.
Thank you. Okay, this question is for you. Are there any skills that have proven most useful in your journey so far?
Are there any
skills?
Skill.
Yes.
Oh,
Whether
the skill of prayer.
soft.
No, I am.
Is that a skill too? I think.
I see.
Okay.
Any skill. To be honest, I don't think about this as a skill, but my greatest asset, I think, is my ability is my relationship with God. When I think about like what I'm doing with my life now, like I said earlier, and I think he just said right now, creation is expression. It means that what you're doing is a manifestation of who you are, and so there's a way that my entire paradigm about life has changed now, where I am trying to understand who I am so that I can do from who I am. Do you understand what I mean? So in that, because for me, with that mindset, I don't have challenge. What I mean by that is, everything is just a delta between who I am and what I'm becoming. And I don't think about. I used to have challenge, but what I'm saying this is that when I was running my business as my business, there are challenges obviously, and then that's when you have the regular, work hard, pray, ask for help. But I think about myself right now I think about myself like a tree that you are growing. All the things that you are coming out of you. And in that regard, the only thing that gets me through challenge, the only thing that gets me through difficulty is coming back into who am I? Do you understand? What am I expressing? What is coming out? I've hit a roadblock here. How do I get around it? But as an expression of who I am, as opposed to an aspire to perspire framework. You understand? So, I'll give you an example because I like to be practical. This project that I'm doing right now is going to be the biggest thing I've ever done, and for me to even accept that I can do the project, I had to start looking inwards, and in the process of looking inwards, I saw where Jesus said in John chapter 5, he said, the Son can do nothing except what he sees the Father do. And as he sees the Father do, the Son does likewise. For the Father loves the Son and shows him all the things he's doing. So I saw that the way to do hard things is to see God do it first. If you see God do it, then if the Father sees the Son do, if the Son sees the Father do, the Son can do it. All right? So that's how I approach the things I'm doing now. It's like, what is the Father doing? Right? And so that becomes the framework by which I navigate. So every time I'm stuck, what is the Father doing? How is he doing it? I will share one last one and then I'll stop. In thinking about this, especially the agricultural project, I started to think deeply about what is the Father doing? And the mindset that I have now going into it is the miracle is not that we are doing 1 million hectares. The miracle is that if you drop a seed in the ground, a tree will come outside. It doesn't make sense to me. It doesn't make sense to me that if we drop a corn in the ground and come back 4 months later, from that thing, we're not importing the leaves from China or anything, just like that. So that is the miracle. But there's a logistics to the miracle. Do you understand? It means that somebody has to put it in the ground. Before Jesus turned water into wine, Jesus said to people, fill the water pot with water. It means that there are people that had to do things in order for the miracle to happen. So in my head, I'm not doing anything extraordinary. I'm just gathering things so that the person that used to make tree to come out of seed will do his work. Do you understand what I'm saying? And so that's what I mean by coming from inside out. So ideas what I need to do comes out from me when I need to do it. And that's how I approach challenges, yeah.
Wow. Thank you. This was very, very insightful. Thank you guys so much. I just want to open the floor to everyone. Okay, you have a question. Wonderful.
Hi everyone.
Hello. Please,
And
can you
thank you
state
very
your
much.
name?
Okay, so my name is Ebenezer, and I'm
Hello,
also
Ebenezer.
a regular at Coffee and Code. So it's actually an amazing
Wow.
place. Yes. So
That's lovely.
my question goes to ICE and IK, right? When you were speaking, you kind of resonated around identity. Personally, identity is something I've been reading about this month. There's this particular book because I had to check some extracts in the book while you were speaking. And my question is, how do you decipher identity? So the Genesis 30 illustration you mentioned regarding the stripe, it's also a very fascinating story to me because it was part of the things I read as well this month. I kind of, so yeah, it's a beautiful thing because Pastor Sam, that's my pastor, says things like everything we see in this world is built twice. One from the intangible realm, and the tangible realm is a byproduct of whatever has happened in the intangible realm. That's the identity, the spirit. So my question is, how do you decipher that identity in a world that is full of noise and ever-evolving representation? Let me give an example. Sorry if I'm taking a bit too much time. Imagine human life expectancy is 200 years, right? And 200 years ago, God put it in your heart, okay, create something that can help people move from one place to the other. The exploration of that will most likely not be a car, right? It could probably be a chariot. And 50 years later, chariot is looking like it shouldn't even come to your mind in the first place. So now, understanding that our environment fuels our creativity and what exactly we do, how do you decipher your identity in those areas at that particular point in time? Sorry, I mean I can, because both of you spoke about identity.
Yeah. So who would like to go first?
Sorry, it just...
No. One thing I probably believe, is this. I think one of the first phone that I got back then, the first time ever the phone came out was Sony Ericsson. And I can't compare that phone to what I'm using now. And we always have this issue with iPhones or Samsung now when they bring out a new phone, in the sense that why you just adding just one new update or one new feature. Some say it's a marketing strategy so that if they put everything in the phone immediately, you will not buy the next phone. But I don't believe it's a market strategy. I believe it's in the level of capacity of what man at that very moment can actually put out. The first plane can carry 500 people. The idea was to create a technology that something can lift off the ground and land. 20 years ago, or even 50 years ago, nobody believed that by now, as of last year, I've forgotten the aviation company that has approved of a car that flew from London to Paris and back, making it possible that flying cars can start functioning. But maybe it would have been like the guy that came up with the idea of metrics. So that when he wrote the script of metrics, that was about 20 years ago, that technology was not ready. So everything that has to do with identity has to do with the time frame for it. And there is, if he tried metrics back then, metrics wouldn't be what it is. There won't be a Keanu Reeves to even do it at the moment. There'll be another guy that would have done it, and the movie wouldn't have been what it is, because that movie was destined to shift the movie industry to what we might call visual effects and CGI to a whole new dimension with the rotating cameras and everything. So everything has to do with time. And there are some people that you might probably say they are the John the Baptist of those times, that their part is to echo it, and then the Jesus of those times will then move it to where it should be. Now, when it comes to that level of what you're asking for, because a lot of things that, some of the things that I want to do, I might probably say some of them are limitations, one in Nigeria, because of where I find myself. The other part, limitations, has to do with funds. Because sometimes when I talk with my friends, I tell them that when they brought Kim Kardashian to Nigeria, I heard somehow how much that was spent, knowing fully well that she was on stage for just 60 seconds. I cannot forget the guy that went to the restroom before she came up, because he came to just see her. But by the time he came back from the restroom and they told him that she was on stage, he didn't find it funny. But because I got a whiff of how much was spent, I knew that if you give me a scratch of that and I'll do a production for you, that production will never leave your memory for years to come. And so there is a lot that has to do with finances, and same thing with that same timing, because a lot of things needs to be in place so that things can actually happen. Otherwise, it won't really exist. So everything has to do with age mostly affects a lot about those identities you're talking about. I don't know if I was able to answer.
Yes, you're able to answer.
Okay.
Okay. So thank you very much for the answer, actually. So maybe I have a theory. I don't know if the theory makes sense, but I do have a theory. I kind of wrote it on my board somewhere. Personally, I believe that when God bestowed an identity upon us, this is my theory, please, you can critique if it doesn't sound good. It's always in a way relational to other people, because the very first stage of even understanding the identity and God's love in the first place is understanding that everybody in the world carries a portion of God, because God created man in his own image, right? So 200 years ago, the dream could be ensure that people get commute from one place to the other. Then the exploration of commuting is based on the limitation of what existed then. Don't be surprised, 300 years next, you probably don't have to go to one place to the other to get conversation. Maybe an hologram would fit. So I genuinely feel like, and picking from what you said, I feel like God's identity for us has to, one way or the other, relate to other people. And exploring what he wants us to do will be dependent on timelines, environment, and probably environmental factors. So that's what I was able to pick. Thank you very much.
Yeah, you're correct. Because I believe you've seen this film. This film by this lady in Avengers. What's her name again? Scarlett. Yeah. No. No. The one she took a pill. No, like a pill busted in her system. Yeah. Lucy, yes. To a certain degree, there's a portion. See, whatever movie that is out here or is already out has a portion of truth as getting to our Creator God Himself, whether they are propagating the kingdom of darkness or not. But there's a level of truth in it. Einstein and a few others that they probably call geniuses based on what they could think of at their time. There was a trip I made in France. I went to the Louvre Museum. I left there sad. The reason why I left there sad, I saw artworks that was done in the 18th centuries, 17th centuries that were as big First of all, the Sistine Chapel painting is the size of a football pitch. Sistine Chapel, size of a football pitch. That's one part. The other part is a ceiling painted by one man. And at the time where there is no art shop that is selling paints, so they had to use some leaves to grind it to make pigments to actually create colors to paint stuff that it's as realistic as what we paint now. Back then. So I believe that the human brain, if you can push it, if you can shut down, like you mentioned, every noise, that takes discipline. Like I say that my house or my stay in Lagos is like Abuja and Lagos. I don't like Abuja. Abuja is too quiet. I can't stay there. It will drive me mad. But I love where I live in Lagos. It's away from the Lagos noise. When I walk into the estate, it's so quiet. I don't even know what's happening in the next person's house. So I can stay and think and create. So I can walk around the clock and not even know that maybe something happened to somebody in the next room. So that quietness is one part. But being able to shut down this, stay off Instagram, Netflix, TikTok, Twitch, everything, and focus on you to bring out you is the biggest work you have. If you can do it, you can live out the life having dominion, not just praying. There's a part the prayer does, because when we pray, we open a portal of probabilities. But the other part is for us to walk. That there's a path, like he mentioned, there's a path we have to walk, but we don't walk it. We pray it, the portal opens, the door opens, and after a while, like movies, they will tell you, oh, hurry up. You're still looking at the lady because you love her, or should you kiss her or not kiss her? Hurry up. The next thing, the portal closes and you're stuck in that place. So even when we pray and we open that place, the ability to just stay and just get that thing. Everything you are meant to be on this earth, God has already put there. And a simple example, if we discover gold in Nigeria today, hello, that's not when God put it. He put it Genesis 1. So you discovering it now does not mean that was when God put it. So people wake up and still go to work. That doesn't mean that they are awake even though they go to work. If you understand the idea of metrics, you can still be going to work, but you're not awake. So people saying, oh, work culture, because you're awake to a reality that has been existing, just you're not aware you've been part of that system. So there's a part of us that we need to do it, but we like the party. We like the hangouts. We like the family. We like everything. So by the time you know it, we are 40, we are 50. We've only done one thing. But there was something that R. Kelly said, and there was an audio book that I had to download that is titled Die Empty. R. Kelly said that before he dies, he wants to make sure that if you shake his body, there is no music note left, and that hit me on a different place. And it made sense for Christ to go up. He had to die empty. Because if he didn't finish, if there was one little task he didn't do, he would have stayed in the grave. So if we could imbibe that, trust me, what Einstein did is a scratch. Because we have a mandate, greater works shall you do. Greater. So if we're not saying greater, it's because we're not pushing into that space to deny ourselves and actually find our real self. Because that's what the world needs.
Okay. I think there's a lot of wisdom in what he said. I'll just add briefly. For me, I have something I call an identity creed. Actually, this is a note I took last year. For me, I derive... If you want to define yourself, you have to go back to who made you. You can't define yourself by people around you. People around you can only have reviews. They can only have perspective. The truth of who you are is in who made you. One of my favorite teachers says, everything you learn about God, you learn about yourself. I have a theory about identity. And my theory about identity is that, actually about all of creation, is that God is fullness. God is everything all at once. And then he essentially splintered himself into multiple pieces, such that every one of us is a small piece of God. And not like a small as in quantity, but a dimension of God. Bible said that in the ages to come, the manifold wisdom of God will be made known by us to principalities. What he's saying is that, assuming that God is like a million, like all the attributes of God, like say like there are 1 million different attributes, ranging 1 to 100 each one. Like football ratings, speed 99, agility. Like all of us are different configurations of those attributes, such that our lives essentially highlight certain things. So that's why you see some people, they highlight the artistic side of God. Other people highlight the analytic side of God. But identity is knowing that, first of all, I came from God. To understand myself, I have to understand God. Because he is, Bible said, we were made in his image. So you can't define yourself from outside of his image. So if you want to understand who you are, look at God. Look very closely at because everything you learn about God, you learn about yourself, right? And from that identity, you then express. Life is expression. Do you understand? The way I think about it is, when you read the Bible, when you read about God, any part that stands out to you is a pointer to who you are. There are people that read about God and power stands out to them. There are people that read about God and patience stands out to them. There are people that read about God and like his wisdom stands out to them, right? That is a pointer to the expression of God that you are. And then what you're talking about, like what do you do in time? There's a message by Parade that said that we all have an inner, I've forgotten what he called it, but what he's saying is like there's an inner note in your heart of who you are. The manifestation of that depends on multiple factors. For example, Jesus was the savior of the world. Now, if he grew up around medical doctors, he would think, okay, I should be a medical doctor and save lives. Because, do you understand? If that's your thing, you say, I will save lives. If he grew up around mojoing, like, I'll be a lawyer and save people from going to jail. Do you understand? But it's just like the thing in your soul, the sound of the genuine in your soul, it's going to take physical expressions in different ways. Do you understand? And this is something that I'm learning right now, which is why a tech bro is in agriculture, because I am understanding that the note in my soul will find different types of expression, but it will be the same assignment, right? The same thing, but it will come out in different forms. So if you are in the age where, let's say the note in your soul is mobility, do you understand? For some people it will be, okay, let's make a car. For other people it's like, let's run a marathon because we are moving, right? But just first understand that note in your soul, and then you can express it.
Thank you so much. We would really, really love to continue. I mean, I don't want to go home, but we have to keep to time. That's part of God. God is very timely, keeps to time. Yes. So, guys, I want to just give a round of applause to our wonderful speakers, Mr. Ike, Ms. Boluji, and Mr. Nnamdi. Thank you so much. I think we can stand and